And well, my son had a moment of weakness and he made a mistake in purchasing that one last pill from you. That mistake cost him his life.
The face of fentanyl is sometimes one that we least expect. This is Tucker Rowe. He died of a fentanyl overdose back in 2021. He was just 19 years old, his whole life in front of him. And last Friday, the man who sold him that pill was sentenced to prison. Tucker's mom, Stefanie Rowe Turner, who founded the group Texas Against Fentanyl, joining us now to talk about her son, Tucker, and her goal of getting fentanyl curriculum in schools across the country. Stefanie, thank you. I am so heartbroken that it's under these circumstances, but your voice is powerful. I am so sorry for your loss.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Tell me about Tucker and what happened.
Now, Tucker's story is very common to so many of our angel families that we hear. Tucker was offered a Xanax. He was 18 years old. This was, prior to any communication about fentanyl. It was in 2021. I had no knowledge of it, and I wasn't able to give him the education to keep him safe. And that is why I'm so passionate about education, because I know that's the single most effective thing that will save children. He experimented with something that was a lethal poison, and the effects of it had really, really awful consequences.
And tell me more about the man who sold him that pill, where they connected.
It was a classmate of his, and the reality is drug dealers are teenagers on our kids' cell phones. They're not what we once viewed a drug dealer. And this boy was linked to another death 6 months prior to Tucker and another fentanyl poisoning after Tucker. The reality is these kids are selling pills. They continue to sell to feed their addiction, and it will continue on. The only way to stop the death toll would be to get the distributors off, but also to get this education so kids can make informed decisions.
The one thing, Stefanie, that struck me about your story is how close you and Tucker were, that he had been open about his struggles. That element to this, so many parents feel as though they're in the dark and their kids aren't sharing. What is your message about having conversations with our kids, even when they're open about what they're experiencing and what they're doing? How to have those tough discussions and how often we should be having them?
Every day. Every day. Talk to your kids about this. Be open and honest with them. Let them know that you don't know the full extent of this. Be curious and listen to their feedback. The reality is Tucker and I were extremely, extremely close, and that wasn't enough to save him. Treatment wasn't enough to save him. Naloxone isn't enough. We have got to get teachers engaged in this fight in school, the curriculum. And we're grateful the state of Georgia is implementing the curriculum, the Tucker Project right now. We're so grateful for them. And we look forward to working with other states as well. We're also working with Alabama and Oklahoma to get legislation. But the reality is we shouldn't have to go fight for legislation to provide education. Get the education and get the education to the parents. It's so important.
And are you running into challenges in that step of this process? I mean, you are an outspoken voice, but what are the hurdles that you're having to jump through in what I agree with you should be in every school, easily accessible and part of the daily conversation?
Yes, thank you for asking that question. The state of Texas, our Attorney General, Ken Paxton, fought super hard for our opioid abatement money. And over the course of 18 years, we get $1.6 billion currently in our fund. There's $317 million, and it sat there for 2 years. I've been in this work for 2 years, and we have not distributed money that has been one that has to go to this fight. And we need the states to spend the money to save lives. We often hear Jelly Roll's testimony about an airplane crashing. That airplane is crashing every single day and that many deaths, but we're not talking about the incarceration. We're not talking about those in addiction. And in addition, we know how to fix it and we have the money to fix it, but why aren't we spending it? That is our biggest roadblock, is getting the state of Texas to spend the money to implement change. And we believe education, it needs to be on the front line of that.
Yeah. According to some of the numbers, fentanyl overdoses, 22 deaths a week due to this deadly drug. Stefanie, I want to give you a moment with less than a minute left just to talk about your son and his future and what he was dreaming of and what you miss most about him.
I always struggle to use 1 minute to describe, this beautiful boy who was so special from the minute he was born. He is my only son, my firstborn. He was a light to this world. He loved others. He loved learning. He was all boy. He was super adventurous. He was spiritual. He was a wonderful big brother, a wonderful son and friend. And he is greatly, greatly missed by so, so many. And of course, me as his mom, I miss him every single day, all day long.
Well, a beautiful person and memory, and you are now his powerful voice and advocate, saving lives so that no other mother has to go through what you have. Texas against fentanyl. I spent some time on your website this morning. I plan to spend a lot more time on it. You have some amazing resources to help us at home have these difficult discussions, and I also plan on talking with my 3 teens about it. Thank you for the work you're doing, Stefanie, and for your loss and for sharing Tucker with us.
Thank you for having me.
God bless you. All right, we have some other news out of